Season 10 has given us a few new toys to play with, and one of those is Stormrazor, an item that gives attack damage, crit chance, and attack speed, as well as an energized passive. Starting with pre-season, energized damage and effects now stack with each other, so if you add a rapid fire cannon to that Stormrazor, you'll get 240 bonus magic damage that slows and has bonus range. Although there are a multitude of champions that could possibly work well with that, the one that stands out to me is AD Thresh. AD Thresh is no secret build, and people play him all the time for a bit of fun. As an AD Thresh enthusiast, I found 3 ways to play AD Thresh this preseason that seem much more effective than before. Those 3 ways are full crit, on hit, and AD support. First, let's talk about Thresh's passives. The first passive to discuss is what makes AD Thresh what it is, and that's the passive on Flay. At level 5 Flay, Thresh charges his next auto attack up to 200% of his total AD in bonus magic damage over 10 seconds. This means that a fully charged auto attack will do triple damage when you include the regular AD physical damage of the attack. When you cram in tons of AD, this damage grows to crazy levels, allowing for the famous AD Thresh one-shot. The second passive is his actual passive, Damnation. Souls drop from minions, monsters, and champion deaths, and each soul Thresh collects increases his armor and ability power by 0.75, but arguably more importantly, adds 1 bonus magic damage to his auto attacks. The latter is actually part of the Flay passive, but what kind of guy doesn't take Flay? So the longer a game goes, so long as Thresh has been able to collect and farm souls, he can infinitely scale every single one of his auto attacks with bonus magic damage. Since it applies on all of them, not requiring charge up, you can scale the on hit like any other by building attack speed, magic penetration, and duplicating on hit effects. You can do all 3 of those with Guinsoo's Rageblade, or apply it 3 times with Runan's Hurricane. With souls adding armor as well, it helps Thresh stay in a fight longer to deal that DPS over time, though what you gain from soul armor you usually have to spend in magic resist instead since his base is so low. Let's talk about the first and most versatile AD Thresh build. When you auto attack with Thresh, it will always apply the soul on hit damage even if you haven't charged up the attack. Therefore, you can scale this not only by collecting more souls, but by building attack speed and magic penetration as mentioned. You need to strike a balance between DPS and tankiness, so you have more seconds to deal that damage per second over time in a teamfight, rather than just instantly blowing up or dealing no damage at all. Thresh range is too short to go full attack speed, and is better off relying on his infinite scaling for the on-hit damage. Literally the highest attack speed item in the game is another way to scale the passive. Guinsoo's Rageblade can double the on-hit once you hit 6 stacks, and with Runan's Hurricane you can apply it 3 times. Of course, just soul passive isn't enough, and stacking some extra on-hits is a good idea. The single best all-in-one item is Blade of the Ruined King. The attack damage in the complete item and in its build path are best early game to harass your lane opponent, and when Flay hits level 5 with that 200% AD ratio. It also provides attack speed, which works well once you have some souls or on-hits in your build. Blade has its own on-hit and it scales with the enemy HP, so it's always pretty relevant. Add on some lifesteal, and it's a great way to give Thresh the sustain he needs to survive in top lane. Blade's AD and on-hit work excellently with Runan's Hurricane's Bolt and Crit Chance, tripling your lifesteal on the Blade effect in addition to soul damage. Another item that heals well with on-hits is Wit's End. Though it's less effective on ranged champions, it's a good choice against magic damage tops and great to finish as you hit level 9, when Wit's End damage begins to scale. At 33% effectiveness in Wit's End's healing, using Runans with it will essentially triple it back to 100% healing. With Blade as well, you can almost be called a drain tank. There are some other on-hit items of note, but they're either niche or not as strong as these better options. Once you have anywhere between 1 and 3 on-hit items, you want to go tanky enough to engage and take advantage of the DPS you've amassed. Runans is great for farming quickly, split pushing, and AoE, whereas Rage Blade is excellent for tank busting and single target damage. You don't have to build 3 items and then take tankiness. Oftentimes you'll probably build one of the items and then go for the tanky items, and then after that continue your damage items, and you have the versatility in choice to choose what stats you want and when. Though Conqueror would seem like a good idea, it's being nerfed to ranged champions in 9.24, and though its late game rewards are great, the safety of Aftershock will keep you from being put behind. And if not that, the potential gold lead from bullying with pressy attack is possibly better. With this build, you can take as much damage or tankiness as you want and either be the peeling tank or the diving tank. It's incredibly adaptable and versatile, but no better at any one thing than a champion that already specialises in that thing. Kayle does more DPS, Nasus scales more damage, and Malphite initiates better. The Thresh has access to all of these options at once to very competent degrees, and possibly capable of taking all of these jobs on at once. Truly, the jack of all trades. Now for something more exciting. As the name implies, this build goes full AD with 100% crits, leading to 200 to 250% physical damage on each attack, and 200% total AD bonus magic damage on charged attacks, plus energy passive on hits, usually 2 of them making 240 bonus magic damage, plus range on rapid fire cannon, plus Sorcerer Shoes penetration, plus Dark Harvest or Predator extra burst damage. It's a lot riding on a single auto attack. This is how you get the legendary one-shot Thresh. It might not always be possible, as not always are your enemies 100% glass cannon and underleveled, but even so, the upfront burst damage is safe to say scary. The first 2 items are usually non-negotiable, Stormrazor and Rapid Fire Cannon. Stormrazor gives the most damage early game than any other item for Thresh. For that first hit anyway. You'll usually want to get BF Sword if you can afford it first back, but Shard isn't too bad either and gives good poke if you can manage it. Rapid Fire Cannon increases your range to 600 for energized attacks, and is essential for safely bursting with AD Thresh. If you don't have it, you get caught and die way too easily. If your lane is tough, the extra range can help, so take it first in such cases. With 50% crit from those 2 items, the next 2 should seek to get to 100%. Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver give the best one-shot potential, and you can go a step further by taking 2 Infinity Edges instead. You can take BF Sword, but you get superior damage from buying 2 Cloaks of Agility straight away, raising your basic attack damage to 200% by having guaranteed crits. These can then be converted into the crit items of your choice, like the previously mentioned 2, or some other options like Static Shiv for wave clear, and Phantom Dancer against bursty teams. Perhaps it is the most trollish build out of them all, and it can be very hit or miss, but it is the most damage this champion has to offer. When most champions are said to one-shot, it's usually actually multiple abilities, like LeBlanc's Sigil being activated by her W, or Rengar using his multiple Qs, E and W out of his ultimate. But Thresh is the only true one-shot assassin, and with 100% crit, don't think that their damage stops with just a single strike. To be fair, this is pretty much the same as AD Crit Thresh, just in support. So we're taking the most expensive build and throwing it into the poorest role. Okay. It's not impossible, we just have to make a couple of alterations here and there, you know? The item that makes it possible is Black Mist Scythe, which gives 35 AD and 150 HP, basically a BF sword and a ruby crystal in one, and how much gold for that? 400. 400 and some honest work in lane, which actually earns you 1000 gold in the process. That's pretty good as far as gold goes. The gold you'll have from laning in this gold passive can be plunged into a shard, and then that turns into rapid fire cannon. Since you don't get much gold outside of support items, you'll likely want rapid fire cannon as soon as possible to guarantee your AD will be useful in the first place. Shard will help you poke in lane, which you'll likely be doing anyway with the gold item. With smart managing of Energize and Fresh Flay passive, you'll be doing a lot of damage with each poke, and can finish it up with your usual hook or flay engage. Of course, this has been awfully optimistic to say the least. With 450 range, it's not exactly easy to farm up Black Mist Scythe. If the matchup is difficult, you can always opt for Steel Shoulder Guards instead, going into Pauldrons of White Row, which grants 24 AD, pickaxe worth, and 300 health to be a lot safer. But if we want the full 35 AD, we'll have to make it work. Some matchups that are heavy on the poke, like Caitlyn lanes, might be more sensible to just ditch the Spectral Sickle, but if you end up against a melee support or not Caitlyn, then you can sneak in some auto-attack pokes. If you can't, you can also farm it against towers. Take liberty in hitting the enemy tower whenever you can, and it doesn't have to be your tower. Making a roam to mid lane? If you got a successful gank off, hit that tower and earn your money. You're probably not going 100% crit when you're on a support budget. If you go like 10-0, I mean go ahead, but otherwise you'll either go Stormrazor to follow up, or take Essence Reaver to get some CDR, meaning more hooks, lanterns, and useful flays for peeling. From there you can take normal support items as you like, or normal tank items, but items like Frozen Mallet are a fairly good idea for their stats alone. And the new Umbral Glaive has a useful ward sweeping passive straight out of Duskblade. Pyke and Senna aren't the only ones able to have fun with AD support. But as you've probably imagined, this isn't easy wins. AD Thresh itself has, as most off-meta playstyles do, quite a learning curve beyond just mechanics, and it might not be as rewarding to learn as someone stronger like Akali or Yasuo. Just because you sink some time into being a good Thresh shop in normals doesn't mean you're likely to scale with it. That's on you. I'll never say AD Thresh is worth climbing the ladder with, it's just really fun, and it's been my main and favourite way to play since Season 3 when Thresh first released. The second favourite way was my boy Aatrox here. No, not that thing. That one! So I hope you've enjoyed watching. It's certainly a lot of fun to play, so I'd be happy to hear anyone willing to give it a go in normals. I'll be playing plenty more of it, so if you've liked what you've seen, then please consider giving this video a like, and subscribe and ring the bell if you want to see more AD Thresh and off-meta content. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.